Hot plate.
Hot plate. Gracias. Looks absolutely delicious. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to present the tamale. Cooked corn dough formed around a spicy filling, all wrapped up in a corn husk and steamed. Tamales are pure simplicity. They've fueled Americans on the go for centuries, from the halls of Montezuma to the Mississippi Delta. But like all simple things, they are very easy to mess up. American strip malls are packed to the piñatas with Tex-Mex mess halls serving up tamales so gnarly you need a goblet of green margarita goo just to wash one down. But it doesn't have to be that way. If you are willing to obtain a few basic ingredients, conquer a few simple techniques, and apply some sound science, there is no reason your own tamales can't be nutritious, delicious.
Hot plate.
Flavorful fillings may form the heart of a tamale, but the soul is all corn, maize to be more exact. Now, Mesoamericans derived a huge percent of their daily calorie intake, here it is, from maize, which wasn't anything like what we slather butter and salt on in summertime. No, maize is tough stuff, starchy and hard, also really lasts a long time. These early culinarians figured out that they could soften the kernels by cooking them in an alkaline solution made with calcium oxide and wood ashes. What they didn't realize that they were altering the nutritional content of the kernels, thus freeing things like niacin and essential amino acids. Now, the process was called nixtamalization, and we wouldn't have tortillas or tamales without them today because the civilizations that invented them would have died out from malnutrition before they made their mark on the world. And that doesn't seem like a big deal until you think that, well, without the Aztecs, we wouldn't have the Alien versus Predator films, now would we? Okay. Now, once nixtamalization is complete, the maize can be ground into a dough called masa, which we made in our tortilla show a while back. But iconic though tortillas are, in this culture, they had nothing on tamales, which... This I don't believe.
What are you doing here?
What am I doing? I'm over here trying to reset the hands of time on tamales. What are you doing here?
Tamales. We can talk about tamales.
Yeah?
If you look at this ancient Mayan wall relief, it's all about tamales because tamales were a very important everyday food back then, kind of like the sandwiches for us. In fact, the word tamale comes from the Nahuatl language and it means wrapped food.
What are you doing here?
You know, the ancient Maya women actually invented the tamale because their men were always going off to war and they had to cook for them. So they invented a food that was highly nutritious and portable and kept well in the tropical heat.
I bet Napoleon wishes he and his guys had some of those back in the winter of 1807, huh?
But it wasn't just a K-ration. It also had an important social significance, especially to the Aztecs. The king of the Aztecs used to throw an annual feast where he just gave away food to everybody and they could eat as much as they wanted. But the only food that they could take home with them were tamales, and then it was as many as they could hold in one hand.
Really? So tamales have always been to go?
That's right, and the masa can be either sweet or savory, and the fillings can be meat, vegetables, beans, or fruit.
So basically anything you could wrap a corn husk around.
Doesn't even have to be a corn husk. Any non-poisonous leaf will do. In Colombia, they make huge tamales using banana leaves.
So anything that can stand up to the heat of the steam, then?
Well, the Mayas had steaming, and you can see it on this wall mural here. This is a Mayan steamer, but the Aztecs just laid it next to the fire to cook them.
Deb, what are you doing here?
Okay, Elton, I'm taking it. I am taking this beautiful piece of culinary art, and it's going to be the centerpiece of Dr. Deborah's Museum of Nutritional Anthropology.
You think that the Javitos who live around here are going to let you just chip that off the wall and waltz out of the jungle?
The Javitos work for me.
Oh, Deb, if only they knew you the way I know you.
You could warn them, if only you could speak Javitos.
Oh, bother. There are 5 distinct phases of tamale construction. First, we must select and prep a wrapper. Then, a filling must be concocted. The masa or corn dough must be prepared. We must fabricate the tamales, of course, and then we must cook them. So let us deal first with the wrapper. Now, a lot of folks these days tend to reach for parchment paper, but I find that tamales born of silicone are usually dense and often downright greasy. Some Central American countries like Colombia lean towards banana leaves, but they're highly perishable, and that kind of derails the whole convenience angle, which is why I stick with good old-fashioned, dirt cheap, and 100% natural corn husks. Dry versions are available year-round. They're usually right next to the masa harina at the old Mega Mart. They've got a shelf life of approximately 3.5 eons, so they're easy to keep around, but it also means they need to be soaked. Now, I'm planning on making 24 tamales, so I have 24 plus a couple of extras just in case. Roll them up and just put them inside my electric kettle. There, it's got about 5 cups of water in it. Turn it on, let it come to a boil. It'll turn itself off, and then I'm just going to leave them in there for an hour so that they fully hydrate. Now, if you don't have an electric kettle, that's okay. Just put them in a bowl, pour the boiling water on, and then add some kind of weight to hold them down, like another bowl or a pot lid. This is a lot easier. Right, the wrappers are dealt with for now, so we can turn our attention to the filling. Although vegetarian and even sweet fillings are commonplace, for me, tamales mean meat. Although the big three, pork, chicken, and beef, are certainly common tamale elements, if we're to strive for any historic accuracy here, and I see no reason why we shouldn't, we must consider the meat selection available to pre-Columbian Central American cooks, okay? There were, for instance, no pigs, there were no cows, and there were no chickens. What they did have was plenty of rabbit, which is probably another show, and they had turkey, which we have plenty of. Oh, there was one other choice. Good boy, down boy. Go on, beat it. It was more of a ceremonial food. So 2 turkey legs will do the trick. All right. For the filling, a 6-quart pot goes down on the cooktop, and into that goes 2 teaspoons of chili powder, 1.5 teaspoons of cumin. And believe me when I say unto you, freshly toasted and ground seeds will give you a far, far better flavor. Also need a teaspoon each of cayenne pepper, dried oregano, kosher salt, and freshly ground black pepper. Then in go the legs, which we will alternate, such as this, and then enough water to cover. It's usually going to take about 2.5 quarts. Now we're going to bring this up to a boil over high heat, and we're going to reduce and simmer until the meat is nice and soft, about 1.5 to 2 hours. There we go. Excellent. Now these are going to need to cool thoroughly before shredding, so just set them aside while dealing with the rest of the filling. As for the liquid, let that cool down. We'll be using it again. Now, fetch down a second saucepan, a little smaller in the 4-quart range. Put that to medium heat and add 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, any type will do. And wait until it is nice and shimmery down there. Now bring 1 small onion to the party, finely chopped, and cook, stirring often until the onions soften. It'll take a minute, minute and a half. Now invite to the party 3 cloves of garlic, minced, and 1 serrano chili, also minced. No seeds and membranes, please. And cook, stirring for another minute. Even though serranos can be a good deal hotter than the average jalapeno, their flesh is much, much thinner. So when seeded, diced fine, and cooked, you get a friendly fire rather than a mouthful of afterburner. Now, while this finishes up, you might want to tend to the turkey. As soon as they are cool enough to handle, you want to shred the turkey meat, being careful to remove any skin, bones, gristle, or anything else that isn't good eats. Now, when the aromatics are ready, just move this right into the pot there and add 1/2 cup of the original cooking liquid. There. Now back onto the heat, bring to a simmer and cook for another 2 to 3 minutes. Or until it looks like this. See, no more liquid really running around the bottom of the pan. So kill the heat and let this come to room temperature. And so, with both the wrappers and the filling currently in holding patterns, we turn our attention to the masa dough, which is essentially, well, it's a biscuit dough, only kind of different. Instead of wheat flour, we'll be using 15 ounces by weight. That's approximately 3.5 cups of masa harina, a corn-based flour which is available in just about every mega mart in America these days. Now, instead of the traditional biscuit buttermilk, we're going to be using 2 to 4 cups of our reserved cooking liquid. Baking powder and kosher salt are still in the mix, 2 1/4 teaspoons of the first and a tablespoon of the latter. As for fat, instead of shortening, we will be working with 4 ounces of good old-fashioned lard. What? I mean, sure, you could use shortening and the texture would be nice and light, but the flavor would be flat. Lard or rendered pig fat, ooh, that's flavor. Lard is lower in saturated fat than butter, and it contains about the same percentage of monounsaturated fats as sunflower oil. What's more, most of the lards on the market are free of the trans fats that so often lurk inside shortening. So, come on, give lard a chance. Let's make tamales. There we go, 15 ounces. Now, if you can make biscuits, and you can certainly make tamale dough. Just go ahead and combine the baking powder, salt goes in, and just mix that with your hand. Now invite the lard to the party, or shortening if you must. There, and just use your fingers for this. You want to kind of grind that lard into the flour. Use just your fingertips at this point, or you're going to melt the lard. All right, so far so biscuit, right? Okay, work in just enough of the reserved liquid so that the dough ends up looking kind of like mashed potatoes. I usually work in 3 doses because the last thing you want to do is put in too much. And now you can really put your whole hand into it. All right, there, moist but not wet. And since this dough doesn't contain the gluten that you find in wheat flour, it isn't going to be as gooey, but it is a little on the sticky side. If you're not ready to build right away, just cover this with a damp towel and set aside. All right, here's where we are. Wrapper, check. Filling, check. Masa dough, check. I guess you know what's next. Baking tamales is less cooking than factory work, and the more you think like Henry Ford, the easier time you're going to have and the more consistent your tamales are going to be. I've got a work area laid out, I've got my ingredients in order of use, hardware is laid out, I even have my strings for tying bundles pre-cut. Takes, well, I cut a dozen of them just to be on the safe side. Now, when you get good at this, you'll probably build, I don't know, 3 to 6 at a time, but just for the sake of demonstration, we will begin with 1. So, extract one of your husks and place it thusly in front of you. Notice the larger end is away from me. It is concave. That is going to be for easier working. For dosing out the masa, I'm going to use a 2 tablespoon disher. Makes things a little bit easier, I think. Just put a blob right in the middle. It's almost like cookie dough at this point. Make sure your hands are a little bit on the moist side, and then just use the heel of your hand, kind of spread that out and do a little rectangular patch would be ideal. You don't want to get more than about a ½ inch away from the edge though, or things are going to get messy. There, that looks good. Now, 2 teaspoons of filling, heaping 2 teaspoons. There, 2 teaspoons doesn't seem like a lot, but remember, tamales aren't about getting a lot of food at one time. This way we get to eat more of them. There, just kind of spread that out into a log, kind of shape like that. And then the rolling. Now, this is kind of cool. You don't want to pick up the food. You pick up the husk and kind of fold the masa in on itself like that. Pull one side away, tuck the other over, and then roll. Not too tight, it's not a cigar. Then on the seam side, you put a fold and then place that down. That is a tamale. Now, as soon as I have 3 rolled, I go ahead and tie them into a bundle. You always want a bundle so that the seams are facing in. So I'm gonna place 2 like this and try to go for the center or close to it. And then another one right here. That way nothing can open up on us. And when it comes to knots, I like the surgeon's knot. We've used this in several shows before, but if you don't remember it, take a look at this stunning graphic. You just go 1 extra turn under like a regular knot for your first pass, and then your second hitch is standard. There. You know, in many communities, tamale making is considered a social event like a quilting bee or barn raising. So get a few friends together and make a big bunch of tamales and then split them up. Of course, if you can't get any friends over, you can always hire the neighborhood kids on the cheap. Come on, you guys, pick up the pace. I'm paying you 20 cents an hour, only 50 dozen more to go. Having successfully completed the fabrication phase, we now move to the crucial cooking phase. Add just enough water to an 11-quart pot to come up to the bottom of a folding steamer basket. Then stand the tamales open and up into the pot thusly. Cover, bring to a boil, then reduce the heat to simmer. Every 15 to 20 minutes, you're going to want to add about half a cup of hot water to the pot. Just pour it down the side. Continue cooking for 1 to 1.5 hours or until the dough pulls away easily from the husk. Ah, there it is. Now, a lot of folks will tell you that you need a lot of fancy sides to eat tamales. I say you do not. All you need is a knife, pair of scissors for, cutting string, some hot sauce, and of course, a beer. Oh, I should mention that when they're hot, if you want to travel with them, check out my Mesoamerican lunchbox. All you have to do is wrap them up in some newspaper and they will stay mysteriously hot for hours. On the other side of the thermal scale, you can wrap them up in plastic wrap and freeze them for up to a month. To reheat them, just take off the plastic, drop them into a steamer until they are warm to your liking. Now, I would call this just kind of the perfect south of the border meal. Or is it? Down in the Mississippi Delta, that mysterious ellipse of land that runs west of Highway 55 from Vicksburg to Memphis, they tell a tale of the legendary bluesman Robert Johnson, who they say met up with a curious character one night at a crossroad near Rosedale. Johnson's career was just getting started, and the man offered him a deal.
Wanna be the king of the blues?
What's it gonna cost me, devil man?
Just your soul.
Ah, soul's not in season this time of year. Besides, most of what gets marketed as soul is actually lemon flounder. Anyway, legend states that Johnson did take the deal, and the devil said to him, and I quote,
Robert Johnson, you the king of the Delta blues. Now go on back to Rosedale and get you a plate of hot tamales. You gonna need something on your stomach. Where you going?
Now, why in the world would old Scratch come to the deep south and evoke tamales?
Well, actually, at the turn of the last century, migrant Mexican workers taught local African-American laborers how to make them. Now, there is much a part of life in the Delta
As the blues.
As often happens when a food travels far from home, when tamales came to the Delta, they underwent magical transformation. Whenever I make hot tamales, I generally go 4 to 5 dozen minimum. That means we're going to need more room for soaking our corn husks. I just use the kitchen sink. Hot tap water will do the trick. 1 hour. You might want to use a clean towel on top, though, to make sure that the floaters stay moist. Now, here's where hot tamales get their heat. The spice mixture for the filling begins with 2 tablespoons of kosher salt, then 1/4 cup of chili powder, 1 tablespoon each of smoked paprika and regular paprika, then a tablespoon of onion powder and a tablespoon of garlic powder, then 2.5 teaspoons of cayenne pepper, or if you like, 1 teaspoon of freshly toasted and ground cumin seed, and 2 teaspoons of freshly ground black pepper. Just mix that up with a fork and reserve half for later use. Next, cut 2 pounds of Boston butt or pork shoulder into chunks and add to a 6 to 8 quart pot with enough water to cover. Add half of the spice mix and bring to a simmer. Covered. Cook long and low for 2.5 hours or until the meat is fall apart tender. Then fish out all the pieces and let them cool on a plate, leaving the liquid right where it is. Now, heat half a cup of vegetable oil in a 4-quart saucepan over medium heat. Okay, add 1 large onion chopped fine and cook for 3 minutes. Then bring 4 minced cloves of garlic to the party along with 1 minced jalapeno chili, and make sure you take the seeds out. Cook that along with the spice mixture, the remaining spice mixture, for 1 minute. Then bring the shredded meat to the party and just cook until it is heated through. Now to the dough. This time we're going to use 2 pounds of yellow cornmeal. That's about 6 cups. To that, add a tablespoon of baking powder and a tablespoon and a half of kosher salt. Just stir that in with your fingers and then bring 7.5 ounces of lard to the party. It's about 1 cup. And just work it in until it's mealy, like that. Then you're going to need probably about 3 cups of the reserved liquid. Just stir in whatever it takes to get it into a nice, smooth paste. that is perfectly scoopable like that. Almost looks like ice cream. Building is exactly as it was before. Lay out your corn husks, put down the masa layer, and then the meat layer. Just make sure to work that into kind of little logs, and then roll and fold, being sure that you fold up on the seam side. Bundle just as before. Now, cooking. This is where hot tamales are very, very different. You want to stack them open end up in the cooking liquid. Now, you like to use a dinner plate to help kind of hold things together. When you got them in, add any of the other liquid you might have kept out for the dough and enough hot water so that the liquid comes up to within an inch of the top. And cover, bring that to a boil. Then uncover, reduce the heat, and cook for 1 to 1.5 hours or until the dough is firm. Packed in a metal container or a thermos, along with some cooking broth, hot tamales stay hot an amazingly long time, which is probably one of the reasons that they caught on so well with field workers sick of cold lunches. That and the fact that they taste awesome. I prefer mine in the wet style, served with plenty of broth. You know, for once, I think I'll skip the gimmicky in monologue and just eat my tamales.
Say, those look pretty hot. How about you give the devil his due?
Okay.
You wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.